Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to a brand new sacred channeling here on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections. Happy solstice, everyone. It is the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. However it is that you are celebrating, however it is that you're feeling the energy, happy solstice to everybody. So this is going to be a solstice reading. It's going to be a very specific reading, however, because I've been picking up on this energy for the past several days. I even since last week, I feel you could take it for yourself. We're going to be speaking about sacred partnership, but it's also the sacred partnership that you have with yourself. When we talk about union, we also talk about union with yourself, union with God, union with all. It is all about a shift in perception, all about a shift in consciousness to that oneness, to that unity consciousness. Some of us are experiencing that in a sacred partnership where we are on the sacred union path of ascension, but ascension is experienced through all different pathways, through all different areas. We grow, we evolve through all different means. But so when I speak of sacred union, when I speak of sacred partnership, I'm speaking of a specific segment of the collective who is experiencing this with a partner, but take it as it resonates for you as well. All the messages will resonate for you as it's meant to resonate for you. We're not exclusive of anything here. So, I have a couple of notes here that I just want to go over quickly before I dive deep into what we're going to be channeling today, what we're going to be talking about today. So, it's Capricorn season. happy Capricorn season. I'm a Capricorn rising, and I'm starting to understand through learning a little bit more about astrology. I always say I'm not an astrologer, right? But through learning a little bit more about astrology, I'm starting to understand that your rising sign is really indicative of the core of you. And so I'm really starting to see that I've got Libra sun, Aries moon, and Capricorn rising, and I'm really starting to see how it all plays a beautiful part in the makeup, especially as you come back to your most core authentic self. You begin to realize all these other aspects of yourself, all these other layers of yourself that maybe you hadn't identified with or understood before. And so that's what I've been experiencing just over the course of my journey, just all these other aspects of myself that maybe I hadn't fully realized, articulated, or expressed. And so it's not to put anything into a box. We don't do that, right? There's no boxes, but it helps you to understand yourself. I looked into the Myers-Briggs, I looked into Enneagram, I looked into astrology over the course of my life just to kind of help me better understand myself. And that's been a real journey of self-discovery and self-development. And the more that I really connect with myself, the more I see the truth of myself. Not to box me into any of these things, but to see, oh, okay, I can understand what that's showing me about myself. So if I identify with anything, if I identify with Myers-Briggs as an INFJ, for example, I can see, oh, okay, that might help me understand why I have this tendency to do this. If I identify as a 4 in the Enneagram, for example, which I do, it says to me, oh, okay, that's where I can see this is my shadow. I could work through my shadow. And I did a lot of that work over the past journey that I've been on, especially this ascension journey. And it's interesting because as I was working through the Enneagram, I was also seeing aspects of other people that I might have taken on as myself. Where, for example, if I was healing the mother wound, I would see where I was taking on that Enneagram 2 of my mother. If I was healing the father wound, I can see where I was taking on the responsibility of his Enneagram type. So it's really interesting. You are yourself. You are yourself. Nothing identifies you but you. You don't box yourself into any of these labels, into any of these forms, but it helps you to maybe connect deeper with yourself and understand yourself so that you can free yourself. It's not to box you in, but it's to help you liberate yourself so you can become truly who you are. So that's a little bit of a tangent, but I've found that really, really fascinating and really interesting over the course of my development journey, especially as I have been really anchoring into more of the truth of who I am. And that's been a lifetime journey for me where I just keep opening up more and more and more of the truth of who I am, becoming more authentically me, recognizing who I am on the soul level and expressing that and embodying that. So it's been an exciting journey that I'm very grateful for when I look back on it. So we have the turning of the seasons. It is the 1221 portal. We had the 1212 portal 10 days ago, about a week ago, and we have been moving through this kind of corridor of, I'm hearing the word awareness. So this corridor of awareness, maybe becoming more self-aware, aware of the world around you, aware of the energy, aware of your thoughts. This could play out in a number of different ways, but a corridor of awareness of what they said. And we're bringing this to the apex here with this solstice. I was drawn to the last solstice reading that I did, and I can't remember if it was a couple of years ago, maybe 2019 about, called The Renaissance of Light, and I'll post that link in the description box below. I am going to be sharing some of the old sacred channelings moving forward on my YouTube channels again and on my social media platforms, because those messages are really hitting even now, even more so. It's not always so much that I channel ahead, it's that these messages are timeless, and it depends on where people are in the journey that these messages are resonating. For myself, I channel and it resonates with me then, but it resonates on deeper layers, deeper levels, and it has activations within them, embedded within them as well, because you're at that level where you're able to receive it. You go through this journey through layers, you go through this journey through levels. It's that spiral, right? That spiral into the core of yourself. That's what ascension is. And so I say this in my readings, for my personal readings, as well as the collective readings, that those readings are all timeless, but they have layers to them. And that's with anything. Anything with life has those kind of layers. The books that you read, the way that you interpret it 1 year might be different from how you interpret it, when you're a grown adult. I'm getting drawn to one of my absolute favorite books, which is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. I read it first when I was 12 years old. I found a copy in my parents' basement that belonged to my grandmother. It is a beloved book to me for many reasons. It has highly influenced my journey, my path, myself as a person, including myself as a writer and an author, and the way that I want to share my words and my books and myself with the world through my writing. Just highly influential because of the philosophy, the humanity that is embedded in it. And if you've heard me talk about books in the past, you know that humanity and philosophy, that grounded reality, is really important to me. So even when I'm talking about spiritual nature, this is what I do. It's not just that we're connecting, to our sacred partnerships. We're connecting to ourselves. We're connecting to God. We're connecting to the world around us. We're bridging the spiritual with the human. It's all about grounded spirituality. That's what we do here at Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. So, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. A lot of people have heard about the book. Maybe not a lot of people, especially new generations, have really read it. But it is brilliant. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. But the way I read it, this coming of age book, the way that I read it when I was 12, and the way I've read it in subsequent years is very different. Because as I grow and as my perceptions change, there are new key pieces and takeaways from it. Perhaps, as a 12-year-old, I'm relating to Francie, who is the same age. Perhaps as an adult, I'm relating to her mother, Katie Nolan. It's interesting and beautiful how, as we grow, our inner translations and our inner interpretations grow. Sorry, I'm getting so much information. Sometimes it's hard for me to articulate the words. The same can be said with painting and music. You can stare at a painting 1,000 times and get something new out of it. You can listen to a song 1,000 times and get something new out of it. It's because you are growing. If you're listening to the same song or reading the same book and just getting the same message over and over again, it means that you're not growing. There's a stagnant energy there. You are meant to grow, and art is a passion of mine. Art is the greatest indicator of your growth. It is the greatest reflection of our growth. We as a society need art. We require that to show us, to reflect to us back our growth, our expansion within our own humanity. I could just talk about that forever. But back to the readings. I'm going to be posting some of my old readings over the course of the next several weeks. So make sure that you are checking those out, seeing if they resonate with you. And if they don't resonate with you, just, move past it and disregard it. But I'm going to be reposting some of those, sharing those links, sharing those messages, because it feels like it's time. It feels like it's time collectively. Today is a new solar cycle that is opening up. It is also the longest night, where more light is actually coming into the planet, not just energetically, but because it's the longest night, we're then moving into this rebirth energy. We're moving into, okay, then the sun starts to rise again. The light begins to get longer. It's the darkest night, the longest night, but then we have that shift. That's what the solstice is all about. And it's a 6-month cycle. So that renaissance of light channeling is going to be pertinent to the energy of light as we're talking about the shift in consciousness and more light coming in and what it means to experience that rebirth. And we're experiencing even more of that rebirth now. So what's happening now? Karmic energy is being cleared. There is a reset that is happening. There's a lot more hope and a lot more abundance that is coming in, a lot of growth that's being experienced after a very difficult, challenging, and long journey. And some of us have really felt this. You might be experiencing a purge physically or energetically or emotionally. You might be experiencing a purge, especially with the new moon and Capricorn coming up in the next 2 days. You might be experiencing a little bit of a purge to help to release any of that residual karma, any of that residual, what I like to call soul sludge, to bring in more of that light. I use this analogy all the time. You can't bring in new furniture into the house unless you clear out the old. Otherwise, it's just cluttered. So that purge energy, the triggered energy, is just releasing so that you can bring in more light and anchor in more abundance and hope and faith and trust and peace. I myself am having the hardest day that I've had in a really long time, and I might not be able to see it right now because I'm channeling, and underneath the surface there's still that peace, there's still that I'm going to be okay, but I'm facing physical challenges, I'm facing emotional upheaval. I spent 20 minutes in the shower this morning just bawling my eyes out, just allowing myself to release, not judging it, not allowing myself to create a story around it, just observing the thoughts come and go, observing the waves of emotion, just letting myself release it. And again, I knew it was a purge. I knew it was a release because of the energy of peace underneath the surface that is truly anchored in. Again, it's more of a flow of energy. It is a release of energy. It is a reset is truly what it is. It's like your entire system is being reset right now. And so you might be experiencing that release. You might be experiencing a little bit of a purge in order to clear out that system for that reset to take place. They're kind of laughing with me because it's like, Susan, that's exactly what you're doing with your health. So some of you know I've been battling my health again. And what we're doing is we are starting a new herbal protocol, and I'm on a very restrictive diet around the holidays, but which is crazy for me. But the amount of discipline and willpower that I have this time is unmatched. I started this about a week and a half ago, and it's just been pretty successful so far. I'm very proud of myself because I haven't been this successful in the past. And it's all because my energy has shifted around my physical health as well. And there's a sense of hope and optimism. Even if there's a little bit of, oh my God, do I have to go through this again? There's such hope and optimism. And it's like my physical health is being reset as well. But you have to allow your body to reset. Well, it's not just your physical body, it's your emotional body as well. It's your spiritual body that has to reset as well. And that's what we're experiencing here. So I do want to share with you guys, before we go even more into what I want to talk about, I want to share with you guys what I had posted just a couple of days ago when I started to really pick up on this solstice energy. And I was getting the call to do this channeling, but I knew that it needed to wait because I knew that the solstice was going to be important. I knew that it needed to be channeled on the solstice because there was going to be more. It's almost like the energy started to pick up, and I was asked to just, okay, keep gathering that information, keep sitting with that information so I would be able to do the channeling. So what I had channeled back then was, we're in a strange vortex of energy leading up to the solstice and the new moon in Capricorn. And again, the new moon in Capricorn feels like the anchoring in of what's being experienced with the solstice. So if you're purging, you're releasing, you're having that karmic reset, so to speak. And it's not just karma as in, negative karma or positive karma. Karma is just energy. It just is. So whatever it is that you're experiencing, there's this reset that's happening. Anything that you were experiencing in the past, because you're of a higher frequency now, you're releasing anything that was of that lower frequency, that past version of yourself. And you might be experiencing this in your physical world or in your spiritual world, or even in both. Like we had channeled in yesterday's collective message, and we've channeled much more previously on this channel, the physical, what you're experiencing, what you're seeing in your tangible world, your life experience, your human experience, relationship, jobs, finances, etc., is a result of a previous manifestation, a result of a previous version of yourself. So as you are shifting and raising your frequency, your physical world naturally has to change to accommodate that, to realign to that. And it might look like destruction, but destruction begets creation. You're always creating. It might look like destruction because things are changing and we like to grasp hold on what is familiar, right? It's our comfort zone. It's our ego that likes to keep us safe. But allowing that creation to take root, to come to pass, allowing ourselves to go with the flow of that change is what brings in the higher manifestations. Maybe it's healthier relationship dynamics. Maybe it's mending or healing in those relationships. Maybe it's new connections, soul family. Maybe it's better finances, more stable finances. Maybe it's a job that's more aligned with our passions. It's all building blocks. This life, our human experience, is all building blocks. It's all connected. Everything is interconnected. And we're really beginning to see this. So we're having this karmic reset. And I feel like whatever it is that you're experiencing here to release, is because it's allowing, again, two things happening simultaneously. You're releasing old energy, and you're bringing in more light, more of that higher frequency. And I feel like the new moon in Capricorn, being that very earthy energy, is going to help anchor this in. It's going to help ground this in. So all these things are happening cosmically, releasing, shifting in frequency, shifting in consciousness, and the new moon really helping to support, to bring us into that grounded, stabilizing energy. So you might feel even a little bit better on the new moon. And you might actually be seeing, I'm getting this message too, that you might actually be seeing some manifestations coming through on the new moon as well. Okay. Yeah, so I was saying there's a juxtaposition of things being calm while also in a state of flux. Some confusion while also being at peace. It's not a back and forth energy that needs to be balanced, but rather one that's fluid and being navigated energetically versus anything we need to physically do or consciously try to understand. So just being. It's not about, I talked about this in the previous Sacred Union Energy update. I'll link that below as well. It's not about confusion. It's not about questioning. It's not about what do I have to do. It's about allowing yourself just to be, just allowing that energy to flow. Everything is writing itself, aligning itself. I've been receiving a ton of activations the past several days relating to this in Sacred Partners, especially those who resonate with the term twin flame as our path of ascension. This is what we're going to explore today. Okay, over the past several weeks, in almost every reading that I've been doing, I've been seeing the Judgment card. Now, this is either it's coming out in spreads or I'm seeing it as I'm shuffling, but the Judgment card has been making itself known, and I pulled it out so that you guys can know what I'm referencing here. The Judgment card in traditional tarot is an energy for me of rebirth. It's an energy of awakening, being called to rise. And you have Gabriel here with his horn. I had a healing session which is more like an activation session because we're both healers and we both kind of activate each other, which is really beautiful, last week with a friend. And he showed me a gift that somebody had given him, and it was Archangel Gabriel with his horn. And I said, that's not a coincidence that you're showing that to me, because I've been picking up on this energy, this judgment energy lately. And it's not just judgment. This card is named Judgment, but again, it's the call to rise. And I've been hearing the phrase clarion call. God's been giving me that phrase, clarion call, that this is a clarion call for divine counterparts. This is a clarion call for ascension, but it especially relates to divine counterparts and sacred partners because of what you mean to the planet, for the expansive nature of that connection. Remember, when you are twin flames, when you are sacred partners, you are experiencing this in two sacred embodiments, physical embodiments, as the core divine masculine and the core divine feminine. Now, you have both energies within you, but you're experiencing it in two separate bodies or two physical bodies for accelerated expansion, accelerated ascension. It's to pick up the speed of this ascension on this planet, because what you are at the core as twin flames or divine counterparts is love. And this planet desperately needs to remember that they are love. That's what you've been doing on this ascension journey. You have been remembering the core of who you are, the truth of who you are, the very soul of who you are. Through your connection to God, through your connection to the universe, through your connection to the world, to those around you, through your connection to yourself, through your connection to your sacred partner, you're remembering love. What happens on this journey, what can be so difficult and painful, is that you are triggering the old patterns, the old templates, the old paradigms, the old way of doing things, the old traumas. But you trigger each other to be cleared, to be healed, to remember and come back to that place of love. Because that is the truth of who you are, the truth of who you always have been. When you first have that recognition with your sacred partner, you recognize that love immediately, that place of home, that place of eternal love that has always been and always will be. But then you start triggering the old relationship patterns, the old experiences, the old traumas, conditioning, societal conditioning, maybe conditioning within family, expectations, etc. It goes on and on and on. But again, the triggers are there to show you where to heal. The triggers are meant to bring to your awareness where there needs to be more love for yourself, and more love within the connection. And when we're still in that old consciousness, that lower frequency, we don't understand this because we don't have that understanding or that bigger picture. We're still operating in lower frequency. We're still operating in the old templates or the old consciousness, the lowered consciousness. But the more we go throughout this journey, the more we see the bigger picture, the more we understand how everything is connected and how everything is connected through love. And the more we understand how everything is connected through love, the more we remember that we are love. We are love. And we are loved. Eternally. Eternally. You and your divine counterpart, you and your twin flame, activate that within each other. It is a clarion call, especially for divine counterparts, to reactivate that remembrance of love, to remember your union, remember why you're here. Yes, you have been going through this journey of purging and healing and clearing. You've been healing traumas, you've been healing expectations, you've been coming back home to yourself. And now it's an activation of your union, to remember union within yourself, with your counterpart, and with God. That Trinity energy. And as you activate that union with all three, you activate that union within the world, and it helps to shift the consciousness, the vibration, and the frequency of the world around you. You recognize this as the more that you heal, the more it's reflected in the healing of others around you. Your relationships feel better and more harmonious. Your finances might become more balanced and more stable because you have a relationship with money. You have a relationship with your home. You have a relationship with your animals, your family, your friends. We have relationships with everything. How are we honoring that connection? How are we honoring that relationship? It starts with the relationship that you have with yourself. If you don't have that connection or that relationship with yourself, it's so difficult to honor and have that relationship with those around you. So this is a clarion call. And if you're not in a sacred partnership, this is a clarion call for that union within yourself, that oneness within yourself. That is a hallmark of the twin flame journey. So we're not saying it's any separate from the twin flame journey. When you're on a twin flame connection or a sacred partnership connection, you're just experiencing this with a partner, that you're activating each other. You are seeing that reflected within each other. Again, it's accelerated growth, accelerated expansion. But if you're not on that journey with a sacred partner, it's within yourself, that union within yourself. The clarion call is remember union, remember your union, remember love. All right, so I had pulled a couple of cards, and I want to talk about them for now. I'm using the Mary Magdalene deck. Mary Magdalene has been very present lately. Mother Mary as well. I had some experiences previously that I'm not going to share because they're a little bit sacred to my journey. But I had a lot of experiences over the past several weeks with Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and Yeshua. And they have all been present since the very start of my journey, ever since I was activated, before I really to Ascension, before I really understood this journey. I was having a lot of understanding, a lot of visions, a lot of downloads, but really visions and memories. Even, it's funny, they're drawing me back to even before my Ascension journey. It's almost like I was gearing up for the Ascension journey, because even prior to my Ascension journey, I had done some group meditations. I participated in some group meditations. Gosh, this must have been maybe 2014, 2015. And that energy was starting to come in, but I didn't have a good relationship with Yeshua or even God back then, because I had felt so betrayed by being sick. I had felt so betrayed within my own life, my own journey. I had a very deeply severed connection with God. Now, that was only my perception, right? Separation is an illusion. God was never missing from me. The universe was never missing from me. It was always part of me. But I had perceived that separation out of my own pain. Remember union. Remember union. Separation is the illusion. This physical world is very real and very tangible. We are part of it. We are living within it. But there is more beyond what we can physically perceive, what we can feel, hear, taste, touch, smell. Did I get it all? Hear, taste, touch, smell. Yeah. There is so much more beyond what we can physically perceive. That is the illusion. It's not that the physical world isn't real, that's the illusion. It's that there's so much more that's happening energetically beyond it. This is just the surface layer. There is so much more. It's not all there is. Your connection to God, the universe, whatever it is that you want to call that higher power, there's so much more than what your human minds perceive, what your human minds think, what your human minds forget. And this journey of ascension is a journey of remembrance. Again, remembering who you are, remembering that you are love. And what is the universe? The universe is love. God is infinite love that you have never been separate from. That is your journey to union. So the first card that I pulled was Miracles, and immediately I was drawn to the Ankh here. And I've been wearing an Ankh myself for the past year or so. just because I've been so connected to that energy, that Egypt energy, Isis energy. The Ankh is, and I'm seeing the Eye of Horus there as well. They're pointing me to as well. The Ankh is a symbol of eternal life. That is who you are. That is what love is. Love is eternal life. You are eternal. And this journey is all about remembering that. And not just remembering it from a intellectual level, knowing it from an intellectual level, but really anchoring it in, embodying that, embracing that, remembering that with every cell, every fiber of your being, so that you embody that in everyday life, not just within your sacred center, not just within your sacred space, your altars, but in how do you move in the world? How are you embodying love? How are you sharing your light? And not sharing your light as in, use your discernment, not sharing your light as in spilling it out, not sharing your light as in overgiving and sacrificing, but sharing your light as in embodying who you are, being connected to yourself and to your own sacred center. In my Tarot and Translation Learn Tarot course, we talk about sacred spaces a little bit. And what they're reminding me of is that we had channeled that your sacred space isn't necessarily a physical place. Again, that's the reflection, right? That's the expression. I have my work desk, my workspace. It's a sacred space for me, but that's just a reflection of the sacred space that I hold within. And you guys can't see me, but I have my one hand on my heart and one hand on my solar plexus. This is that sacred space. It's within you. It's the core of you. Your sacred space has and always will be within you, and always has been within you. Your home is and always will be within you. I'm also getting drawn to that word miracles. Miracles are just shifts in perception. Miracles happen in every moment, every single day. It's just, are we able to recognize it? Are we able to see it? Are we able to find gratitude for it? Are we still mired in victimhood? Are we still mired in lack mentality or scarcity mindset? Are we still mired in lower consciousness or lower vibration, lower frequency elements? Miracles happen in every moment. And they're drawing me to nature. Nature itself is a miracle. Life itself is a miracle. We have the solstice, right? It is the longest day of the year, the longest night. But what comes after? This sense of rebirth. In the northern hemisphere, and we'll talk about the southern hemisphere too as well, like you can relate to it as well, because you go through your own cycles. But for the northern hemisphere, we've been going through fall, winter. Winter is here. This is the winter solstice. Winter is here now. But what happens during the winter is you prepare yourself for spring. You prepare yourself for the rebirth. What is that, if not a miracle? What is that, if not a miracle itself? Heart and soul. This is the crux and the core of who you are, and you're beginning to see that. You're beginning to understand. This journey has been a little bit difficult, this ascension journey, because it feels like you have been on opposing sides. It feels like you have been at war. And that will resonate with you in a number of different ways. You feel like you've been at war with others around you, with the world around you. Feels like you've been at war perhaps with your counterpart. Feels like you've been at war with yourself. It feels like you've been at war with God. It feels like you've been at war with seeing the chaos and the destruction in the world. It feels like there's been this just ongoing battle and even physical war. It feels like there's been this ongoing battle of war and peace. But you are the bridge to that. You are the bridge. By holding those two opposing extremes, those two opposites, by recognizing the duality, you bring it back to the center. You bring it back to love. You're really beginning to understand, we are really beginning to understand what it means to be this heart and soul, what it means to be soul-centered, heart-centered, to embody that energy. And we are being rebirthed now into that energy. We're being called to rise into that energy. This is a clarion call. A call for you to rise in your mission. And your mission is not something that is external. It might be expressed in your business or your projects or whatever this is. It might be expressed in your career. But your mission is, always has been, and always will be, how are you embodying the sacredness of who you are? How are you embodying the truth of who you are? How are you embodying love? I'm just seeing us bringing down that template of love and anchoring it into the heart space. And it is the sacred heart that Christ consciousness energy showed us. The Christ consciousness, the Christ Sophia consciousness is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Mary Magdalene and Yeshua standing side by side. Both as one, both recognizing that sacredness, both anchoring it into that sacred heart. We're bringing it down into the physical world so that we embody it. That is what New Earth energy is. That is what we are creating now. It's so easy to look outside of ourselves. It is so easy to look at the illusion, to look at the separation, the destruction, the division. It's so easy. That's why this journey has been so challenging, because it is so easy. Harder yet to look within. But that is what you have done. That is what you are doing. And that is where you find yourself. That is where you find God. That is where you find truth, enlightenment, understanding, clarity. That is where you find your own self-empowerment, where you think for yourself, where you honor yourself, where you respect yourself, where you allow yourself to love and receive love. And the more that you do that, the more it has a ripple effect. It's just your aura expands. That light expands. Light is expansive. They're drawing me to the Lion King now. I get a lot of symbolism. They're drawing me to the Lion King and how Mufasa says to Simba, this land is ours, or I can't remember the exact quote as I'm channeling, but this land is ours as far as the light touches the horizon. It's all about perception too, isn't it? If you were to venture out, the horizon doesn't change, it just expands. The light just grows. Light is expansive. It keeps growing. You are expansive. You keep growing. And the more you expand and shift into higher consciousness and be that beacon of light, be that beacon of love, the more it has a profound effect, a ripple effect on the world around us. That's not to say that you don't struggle. That's not to say that you don't face challenges or difficulties. But you understand that love overcomes. You understand that you are always supported, always guided, always loved. You understand that you are always connected with God, that you are creating your world. Maybe there are lessons and experiences to be had. Once you learn them, you don't have to repeat them. That's your consciousness. That's your conscious creation. And you can learn with flow, with ease, and not with pain anymore. That's the template that we are getting rid of. We don't have to experience or learn with pain or with suffering anymore. It would be so easy for me to just go back into that place of depression and self-pity and pain, because I had been in that place for so long with illness. That experience was the most traumatic. It was the most difficult of my life for what I experienced there. But I learned from it. And even though I'm going through another health cycle, I'm in a different energy. I'm in a different mindset. I'm in a different place of peace and love for myself, for my health, for my body, and in a different place of faith and trust in God. No matter what the outcome, I know I'm supported and I know it's going to be okay. This is your clarion call to remember your union with yourself, with God, God as yourself as God, not in the ego way of I'm God, but in the eternal truth of your divinity, that you are part of God, you are a child of God, you are a child of this universe. You are soul, and as soul, you are an aspect birthed from that Sophia consciousness, that God source energy. You are God. This is your clarion call to rise in your divinity, to keep releasing the ego, the spiritual ego, to keep anchoring into the truth that needs no claim, that needs no announcement, that needs no ego, that just needs you to acknowledge yourself within your own truth and your own embodiment. This is the clarion call for your own rebirth. They're taking a step back, so we're going to end with that. It felt like a very powerful message. Let me know in the comments if it resonated with you. Again, I'm going to post what really feels like a supplement or a complement to this channeling, the Renaissance of Light, the previous channeling. So I'm going to post that as well, or at least share the links for that as well again over the next couple of days. But the link is in the description box if you want to dive in more. Next week, we're going to come back here on Susan Dawn Ascension Connections with the 2023 Collective Year Ahead reading. If you'd like to book with me for your personal reading, I'm still accepting bookings. This feels really beautiful, really emotional at times, really anchoring in. Just so much love for you. Thank you so much for being part of this community. Thank you so much for just this energy exchange. Thank you so much for being part of my journey. It has been the honor of my life, and I mean that wholeheartedly. I love you all. Sending you lots of love and lots of light, and we'll see you next time.